Hello to all my listeners out there. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. And best of all, it's free. That's right, it's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. That's right, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you on multiple platforms. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download the free Anchor app now or go to anchor.fm to get started. Thank you for listening. Hello, and welcome back to Women with Purpose podcast. I am Tanisha Peggins, the co-founder where God is the founder. He did birth this ministry through me. And Women with Purpose is here to encourage, empower, uplift, and exemplify love and truth to all. So for my A1s who've been with me from the beginning, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you, following me through this journey. This is season 3 that we're going into. For all the new followers, I thank you so much for following us through this journey. Stay tuned. It's going to be so much to come. It's going to be shifting throughout the seasons and more things, new things to come as well. So stay tuned for that. So again, thank you so much for tuning in with us. So welcome all to the Women with Purpose family. This season, which again is season 3, is titled I Got Too Much to Say. And it's kind of self-explanatory, really. I just got too much to say. This season is going to be a little different compared to the first 2 seasons. I am going to go in depth with my truth. Again, my truth. I've touched a little here and there, especially season 1, episode 1, which was overcoming rejection and abandonment. Stuff that I personally went through and things that was in my bloodline that I came through. Because for those of you who don't know, majority do. God has chosen me to be the generational curse breaker, and being the generational curse breaker is not easy at all. Let me tell you, it's definitely not for the weak. So being that, and just following God and being extremely obedient to his word and instructions, sometimes that causes you to go against the grain. You would not be like, let me tell you. But it's okay, you know what I mean? Because they didn't like Jesus, so it is what it is. So for those of you who don't know, we always open up in prayer. And for those of you who do know, you're used to it. Cool. So we're going to open up in prayer. I'm going to throw some disclaimers out, and we're going to dive right in. So, dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for bringing us all here today. God, it is my prayer that my testimony and my truth will bring forth healing to all, including myself, God, for we have come to break chains, break yokes, break what's in the bloodline, God. God, we are trying to be free of any and everything, God, that does not glorify and edify your name. So, God, I pray right now against the spirit of fear, against the spirit of procrastination, God, any hindering spirits, God, in the name of Jesus, God, and even for my nerves, for I am telling my truth to all around the world. So, God, I come up against anything right now in the mighty name of Jesus, God, that will try to come up against your woman servant. For, God, you have fought my battles for me, so there is nothing that I need to do. And, God, I pray that this will bring forth healing even to those who are listening, God, that it will bring forth healing and freedom to them and anything even in their bloodline, God. God, let it touch the lives of those who need to hear it, God, and that freedom will go forth upon the land. So, God, I thank you so much, and I praise you, and I bless your holy name. In Jesus' name, amen. So, without further ado, for one, it's a great day outside. Like, it feels so great. So I'm outside recording. So if you do hear any birds chirping or anything like that, that's why. Because it's a beautiful day out. So I just wanted to just sit out, record, and just allow the Holy Spirit to have his way. So disclaimers. Again, this season I will be going in depth with my truth. So in doing that, of course, my testimony will require me to talk about situations involving other people. So I will not Let me repeat that for the people in the back that didn't quite hear me. I will not disclose any names, but if you know me or you know other people involved, or if you're a family, friend, foe, whatever, then you obviously probably would know who I'm talking about, but you would never come on my platform and hear a particular name. I'm not doing that. This is not a blame game either. This is simply my truth, addressing some things that I have not addressed, and I'll address the why in a minute. But just expressing my truth, my story, what God has healed me from, delivered me from, freedom being at my doorstep, because again, God has chosen me to be the generational curse breaker. I've always said that in my life, like, oh, I'm the generational curse breaker. Like, I ain't doing that. I ain't tolerating that. I ain't going through that. Me and my kids, whatever. I didn't know that being a generational curse breaker took all of this, and just dealing really was in the bloodline. I'm like, yo, even stuff that I myself have exposed myself to, my children and other people in the bloodline, because I had no idea, like learning what I'm learning and what God revealed to me, even stuff I'm like, oh my God, I forgot about it until, maybe it was a dream, or he would give prophecy to somebody. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I forgot all about that. Or I'd be like, oh, like it just bring back remembrance. So I'm like, so being a generational curse breaker, unfortunately, it causes you, or you will go against the grain. Ain't no cause, you will go against the grain. Or some people will say, you shouldn't have said that, or you shouldn't have said this, or why you doing that, or why you doing that, or, family secrets are family secrets, or, that's your personal private life. You shouldn't disclose that, or whatever. That's why people are still stuck in bondage. That's why people are still trapped. They want to get out, but they're scared of what other people are going to say. I don't care no more, because I'm setting myself free. I'm setting my children free, my assignments, because that's how God had to give it to me. Like, okay, you're trying to protect this one and you're trying to protect that one, but how is that working for you? And it hasn't been working for me, because I've been keeping so much bottled up inside because of me protecting people, or because my love for people, or because at the end of the day, certain things, I still have kids. So regardless of what my experiences are, they're not my children's experiences. And I've also tried to protect them by not exposing them to certain things, and it came back and it bit me in the butt. Quite a few things did, because now they are seeing certain things to be one way, and especially now that the changes have happened in our life, and they're used to being around Sally Sue or whoever, when God is like, no, I need you to close off all access, because you're causing yourself and your bloodline more hurt than anything, because you're trying to move in the direction that I'm having you to go, and they're still operating in whatever the case may be. So you're still exposing yourself to that. So that's a tough decision. And when people have their opinions, which everyone is entitled to opinions, or, feeling like I should do this, I should do that, or, you still should let the kids or whatever. Like, at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, this is my mother. This is my father. This is my grandmother, my grandfather, my sister, my brother, my cousin, aunt, uncle, whatever the case may be. So it affects me too. I may not show it. I'm very great at masking, good, bad, or indifferent. Let me tell you. I've mastered that thing. But now I don't care, because it's bigger than just me. It's people that are waiting on me. So as long as I'm halfway on my post, they are still stuck in their situation, because God is like, look, I assigned you specifically for them because you went through this. So as long as you're not doing what it is that I'm telling you to do, one, you're being disobedient. 2, you're still stuck. And 3, they're still stuck. So for me, it's like, okay, I can't do that. Okay, God, I understand, with great assignment comes a great cost. And for me, the greatest cost that I feel I have experienced thus far is relationships. A lot of those relationships, though, were toxic. It wasn't healthy. So I'm cool with that. But again, I'm not disclosing names, but those relationships are people that I hold dear to my heart. But when God starts exposing and revealing and removing, it don't feel good. So It doesn't feel good. And sometimes I may take a moment here or there because, again, I'm having to relive my truth, because the purpose of this is to release the mini me, that little girl that's been trapped inside. And God gave me revelation the other day when I was heading to church. And it was funny, but it wasn't funny. And then I laughed and then I cried because I love Super Mario Brothers. Like, I'm an 80s baby. So well, not everybody, but majority of people know about Super Mario Brothers, Sonic, Sega Genesis, all that other stuff. So you know how the princess is trapped in the castle, right? And Mario and Luigi, and their little crew, they got to go up against what I now call, the demons in their crew. So each level, the high, it starts out easy at the beginning, but as the level increase, so does that fight to save that princess. And then at the end of that level, you get to the castle. Where's the head poncho, the ruler? And you got to beat that ruler to get to the next level. Well, that's how it is, when you're fighting these different generations. Like, in the beginning for me, it started off with God healing me. So I was still fighting a lot, but compared to what I'm dealing with now, because now I'm hitting a lot of my bloodline stuff, it's like, it's really not for the weak. But I always keep my kids in mind, because I'm like, if this is tough for me, imagine when it comes time for them to do it. Because God is like, look, purpose still got to go forth. So whether you do it or whether I choose one of your children to do it still got to go forth. And we all know what's going on in the world today. I don't want my children to have to fight this battle. And so therefore, I have to be obedient and do what God called me to do. So I say that to say again, I will not say any names, but I will address a lot of different things. One, because I've let people speak their narrative for too long. And I'm glad that God didn't have me to respond and to certain situations and say my truth at that time, because I was still angry. I was still hurt. I was still mad. I was still bitter, to say the least. So when it still would have been my truth regardless, but it wouldn't have been in a way that it would have edified God, because I wouldn't have cared, because all gloves would have been off. All gloves is off now, but it's just going to be done in a different way. So it wouldn't have edified God at all in that. And it probably would have brung on more than what God was intending to do. So now I'm glad that I took the time for God to do a work in me, because my responses is different. I'm still going to address it, but it's going to be different now than it would have been. So this season, because again, I'm rescuing the little me. So in order to do that, I have to go back and get her, which means I have to go back through the jungle. I have to go back through the castles. I have to go back to the different levels to get her. But once I get her, I have to release her. I'm birthing the old me while giving birth to the new me. So it's kind of like I'm having twins right now at the same time. Just two different stages. That's the way I look at it. Because again, I'm birthing the old me. I'm releasing her. I'm finally letting that little girl free. She's been inside for 36 years. I'm 36 years old now. She's been trapped for 36 years. And I'm finally letting her go. But I'm also giving birth to the new me. Some may like the new me and some may not. But I do. So that's all that matters. So this season, we're going to be talking about a lot of tears and pain behind all my jokes and smiles. Reasons why I made certain decisions and choices in my life. And again, this is not a blame game. This is not it at all. That's why I'm glad God did what he needed to do in me first, because it would have went totally different had he not. So I'm going to talk about the molestation that I went through with a close family friend. As people, they know my parents had me at an early age. They were children. So I don't fault them at all, because they were children having a child. So they didn't even know who they were. So how would they know how to be parents? So I'm grateful for the family members that God did have in my life to raise me. So my aunt raised me. My grandmother raised my brother before she passed away. After that, my dad got custody of me and my brother. After that, my mom got custody of me and my brother. So I'm going to talk about how that affected me. I'm not talking about everything I'm going to talk about during the season. So it's a lot of stuff that I'm leaving off that I'm going to talk about this season for specific reasons, but I'm still going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about why I left my previous ministry. I'm going to also talk about some things that are in my bloodline that I had to fight through. And one of them hit home, like, it ripped me. I won't talk about what exactly God revealed that ripped me, but what's in the bloodline, and the background of that. I'm going to talk about my health journey, things I went through with the medical conditions that I was diagnosed with. For those of you who do know me, know I can no longer have children naturally due to the health things that I've been through. And that was very hard for me because I always and still now want another child. So that in itself is a sensitive topic. Like, when God had me to do this, I argue with him. I'm gonna tell you right now, I was like, I'm not doing that. Like, Jesus, do you see what I already went through? Like, and you want me to, nah, I ain't doing that. And I know he just be sitting back laughing at me like, I'm not arguing with you because you're doing it. And you say that now, but you not gonna have a choice. And this is who we are, because I don't have a choice. I didn't want to. I still don't want to. Let me throw it out there. I do not want to. But I have to be obedient. So I have to. I don't want to, but I have to. So I'm going to talk about not being able to have children anymore, how that affects me. Me going through depression, suicide attempt from an extremely bad breakup from my best friend. He was my best friend. So a lot of different things. And we're going to dive right in. So, who is Tanisha? That's a good question. I ask myself this all the time. Because I know who Tanisha was, the unhealed version of me. But I really didn't even know who I was then. Because of me being molested, which I didn't understand at that time. I was very promiscuous. But it was in a way because I was looking for what I was lacking, which was love. Like, I knew how to love. And my heart always wanted love, to be loved, and all of that. But it caused me to be in relationships that some of them I knew for a fact wasn't for me. And God, like, that, I don't have him for you. Like, and I stayed in it. For whatever reason. Sometimes it was to have shelter over me and my children's head. Sometimes because when I was going through my health journey, I didn't work for 2.5, almost 3 years. Not because I didn't want to, because anybody who know me know I always kept a job, but because I couldn't. I actually physically could not. I had 6 surgeries over the course of 2 years. And one of those surgeries actually was the reason that I found out I was diagnosed with lupus. So it wasn't that I didn't want to work. I couldn't. So I would be in relationships for shelter, to make sure that me and my kids was good. And although I had a price to pay to make sure that we were good in the natural sense. But behind closed doors, I was dealing with a lot that I did not show. I mean, like I said, I can mask it very well. So people did not know what I was going through at that time. When I'm going to start from when I was a little girl. Like I said, my aunt had custody of me. My great aunt and great uncle, they had custody of me because, again, my parents were children. So it was cool. Sometimes I would be embarrassed though because they're older. I would be embarrassed like when they would come pick me up from school or something like that. Or I wouldn't be embarrassed when my grandmother would like come to the school, because I remember when she used to work at Dairy Queen when I was a little girl, and I would like around my birthday time or whatever, I was have like an ice cream party. She worked at Dairy Queen, so it was nothing. They'd be like, "Oh, your grandmother is white." I'm like, "Shut up!" Like if I punch you in your face. But it was at the same time, it was kind of cool, like just to explain my background, like my culture, what I'm mixed with in my bloodline. But I would be embarrassed a little, and a part of me, like I didn't know my mom because I was younger, so I really didn't like know her. I'm not saying she did not come around. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I didn't know her. I was used to my aunt and uncle. And I would never forget that day that my aunt had court with my dad. And my dad won custody of us. I was about to make me cry. And it hurt, like, because I'm like, I'm good here. Like, I'm good. Like, life is good. I was able to be a kid. I'm good. So when my dad got custody of us, I ain't gonna lie, I didn't like it. Like, I love my dad, don't get me wrong. But again, I was younger. I was used to what I was used to. But I didn't like it. And I've talked about this before, so it's nothing new. His first wife, my stepmom, that everyone, knows my relationship with her, whatever. I didn't like her either. Like, because in my mind, I'm just like, y'all are ripping me from what I know. Like, are y'all crazy? Like, I was good. You could have just still came and picked me up, whatever. But of course, when you're a child, you don't quite understand. And I didn't quite understand. And then some things that took place, whatever the case may be. I'm not going into that because that's not my testimony. I was a part of it, but that's not my testimony, and I was a kid. So I can't say the reason behind the why, because I don't know. I know what I was told, but I can't, so I won't. But anyway, some things that took place, and my mom eventually ended up getting custody of us. But I remember the very first time I did get molested. My dad did have custody of us, but it was a weekend that my mom had us. And again, my mom was young. So it was this one lady who would always keep everybody kids when they would go out, And I really don't have nothing bad to say about it. Like, she had her babysitting fee like anybody else. We ate, we whatever, played, whatever. But I remember I would hate going over there for different reasons, but the main reason was because I knew every time I went over there, her son would touch me or whatever. And not to be too vulgar, but again, it's my truth. Even the very first time, it was anal. The second time, it was oral. And then thereafter, it would be a combination of the three. And again, not to get too vulgar, but this podcast is rated E for exposure. And I would say this season may not be rated E for everyone. Adults, use your discretion if you feel like your children can listen. My kids know what's going on. Because before I tell the world, I want to make sure that they know and they're good. And it's not catching them by surprise. So I didn't quite understand the sex talk then, because I hadn't had the sex talk then. But what I knew was, one, my daddy crazy. My uncle's crazy. This could bring a lot of drama. So, and then I was also told, if you tell it, ain't nobody going to believe you. I'm going to say this, I'm going to say that, and I won't disclose the other person that was involved, but the other person was a family member of his. And it would always be me and her. He would take us to the shed, and you could tell she didn't want it either. And I hated it. I hated it to this day. Even when I think about it, I get so disgusted when I think about his name, or if I happen to see him. I'm disgusted, like totally disgusted. Love his siblings, especially one of them. Love her. Love her. Sweetest, most funniest, cool, laid back person with an amazing testimony that you could ever meet or even hear. But him, hate. And it took a while, and God had to deal with me to forgive him. Now I understand why. Because of what was in operation. Why he chose me, I don't understand. But I remember just hating being over there. Like, I hated going over there. And at the same time, I'm living with this secret. I can't tell anyone why. So my first time was not my first time. It was just my first consensual time, if that makes sense. But I felt like I couldn't tell nobody. Like, because of who it was, I did. I love my parents, so I didn't in any way want to hurt them, bring on any drama. I was tired of already, like, the back and forth, like, from my aunt's house to my dad's house. But I remember I used to think, had they left me at my aunt's house, I wouldn't even went through this. Like, and I dealt with that for a long time, like, up until, like, I was a young adult. Like, I probably had already had my second child at this time. And I was just like, you know what? Like, I have to protect my kids at all costs, because I know what I went through. So even though I did have family members helping me with raising my child or children, because I had my oldest in high school. And I'll talk about that later on during the season, the reason behind that. But that's why I really didn't trust my children being around nobody, because this is a family friend, someone who, like, we look at like a cousin. And it wasn't that I really couldn't tell anybody, because I knew, it's going to be some stuff. But at the same time, I felt like I couldn't. Not more so because of the threats, because I knew if anybody was going to believe me, my dad definitely was, without a shadow of a doubt. But it's just like, I love them too much to see them go through something. And just the drama that would have came with it. So I just kept that secret buried inside all these years, over 2 decades. And even now, when I first told certain family members, it was like, okay, so what we gonna do? I'm like, no, I don't want to go down that route of police involved, all that, because just having to relive it alone for healing was a lot for me, a lot. So it's like, nope, I just still want to heal from it and just bring awareness. Like, you can never not trust nobody, especially when your kids involved. You can't. And when it come to my kids, I'm not going through that, because I'm gonna just be honest with you. Like, I love the Lord and all, but just I wouldn't advise that. So that started to change me, and from that point on, the main reason, when I was younger, and it's crazy because I shouldn't have thought about that. I was like 9, 10, no older than 11, because like I said, when it first happened, I was living with my dad, but it was a weekend that my mom had us. So I was just like, no, I wanted to be with somebody that would protect me. And I always looked for guys to do in a relationship that I always wanted my father to do. And it's not his fault, because even now to this day, like, something could be wrong with me, and he would randomly text me, and I'm like, yeah, he knows something up. But I won't say nothing. I'll text him back with tears in my eyes, like, oh, I'm okay. Like, I'm okay. And I'm really not okay. Even going through a situation recently with a stalker of mine. I would be so scared, guys. Like, I would be so scared, but I would pretend to other people that I'm okay, because I'm like, if they know I'm not okay, that's going to alarm them. It's going to bring on extra stuff that I really just don't want to deal with. And it would be triggers from an abusive relationship I was into. So I would just be like, God, you handle it. Like, as long as me and the kids good, I'm good. I know you're not going to let no hurt or harm come my way. But it would be times I would want to pick up the phone like, Dad, look, listen. But I'm like, nah, I ain't even gonna do that, because it may not end well. Like, it just may not end well. So I ain't even gonna do that. But even when I would go back home with my dad, I would be like, and some in the inside would just be like, tell him. I'm like, no, I wouldn't even tell my brother, because at that time, me and my brother, we were really close. Like, we have the same mom, we have the same dad. My grandmother did have custody of him for a period of time, but because my grandmother was always at work and she was sick at the time, he would be at my aunt's house with me a lot. So everywhere I went, he went. Because like I said, we had same mom and same dad. So it won't no split in the two. So when we left my aunt's house, had my grandmother's house, we went to my dad's house, obviously together. We went back with my mom, obviously together. So we were close. We were really, really close. So I wasn't telling him either, because everybody who know my brother then, the boy was mouthy. Anger problems and mouthy. So I'm like, nope, I'm going to just have to keep this one to myself. So the only person who knew was the guy and the young lady also that he would do it with. And it was just like, once we left out the shed, we didn't talk about it, and that would just kind of be that. So, like I said, I got in relationships because I wanted that which I was seeking from my dad. And unfortunately, he couldn't give me what he didn't know to, but I can't say that he didn't try his best. I won't say that my mom didn't try her best. They tried the best with what they knew how. I just personally wish that they would have just left me where I was. But now, considering, what God has brought me from, and, the platform that he's given me, the people that I've came in contact with thus far, I honestly don't regret it. The only thing I do mainly regret is hiding a lot of things from my kids, thinking I was protecting them when in all actuality, I think I was just trying to protect myself, because I didn't want to deal with a lot of it. Like, I didn't want to face it. I didn't want to deal with it. I wanted to just pretend like things never happened, but it did. So, yeah, life was great when I was with my aunt. Life got real, Started living with my dad. Then we started living with my mom. I was a mom before I became a mom, because my mom was a single mom. So, she had to do what single moms do, work, whatever, enjoy life, whatever the case may be. Again, I do not fault her for it at all, because we all have a past. And it's just up to us what we decide to do with that past, and if we want to change from it, grow from it, or stay there. So that ain't my story to tell. That ain't my testimony to tell. That's theirs. So if you want it, and if you know them, get it from them. If you don't know them, sorry, but you won't know them, and that's just what it is. And so yeah, so when we lived with my mom, I became a mom. I had to help take care of my siblings. I watched my mom go through an extreme abusive relationship that to this day still has a lot of damage on me, because I could just hear like the smallest noise. Because when my mom was in an abusive relationship, let me start there, I always would say, I'm not getting in that. Like, she crazy. I don't understand how she can leave. Like, my mom would come and pick us up from school with black eyes. So we would get joked on. Like, me and my brother then got into a fight, came close to plenty of fights, just because we were being joked on and picked on. Or like, for me, they'd be like, oh, she thinks she better than everybody because of her hair. Lo and behold, like, I'm actually hurting inside, and I actually need friends. I want friends. So how you view me is not even how I view me. So I just took it, whatever it is, what it is. Especially when we would go to the skating rink, me and my brother and my cousins, we would always get into fights. I'm like, yo. And like I said, my brother, he mouthy. He got an attitude problem. So most of the time, him and one of our other male cousins, they would be the reason why we would get into a fight. But either way, we got into it. And everybody know Chesapeake skating rink was ghetto, it was ratchet. But it was fun. It was lit. We all wanted to go. But anyway, I did end up in an abusive relationship. And it didn't start out that way. Like, it started out good. Then it went to the mental abuse. Ain't nobody gonna want you. You used to be bad. Now you just all right. And I'm hearing it. And I'm also replaying things that I went through in my life. Like, well, maybe they true. Maybe, maybe true. Maybe don't nobody want me. We been bounced around this and this and this, whatever. So then my mom was in an abusive relationship. So even the slightest noise to this day, I automatically think abuse. Like, I automatically think that somebody's in an abusive relationship. If you yell the wrong way, if you say certain things, it's a trigger. So I'm now, God is healing me from it. So now I'm able to talk about it. Well, before, I ain't trying to talk about it. I ain't trying to think about it. I ain't trying to do none of that. So, I remember even a time where my brother fought the guy. It's funny now, but it wasn't funny then. Stabbed him with a fork and everything, trying to, protect my mom. So I was like, you know what? Once I move out, I ain't dealing with this, blah, blah, blah. And then as I got older, I wanted to have a relationship more and more with my dad, because I kind of knew what I needed. I didn't understand. I knew, but I didn't understand. And I mean, if you know, me and my mom, we don't have the best relationship. I would love for it to be different, but unfortunately, that ain't where we at. It's an up and down roller coaster. And again, especially when they come to me, it kind of irritates me, because you're speaking on something that you really don't know about. And then a party, but not both parties. And you don't even try. You just try to put your input in. And it really irritates me. And I try my best, even with my children, to try to be transparent. Of course, I've done things that hurt them that they still deal with to this day. And with them having certain health issues as well, God is like, the root cause of that is the relationship with the mother. And I know me and my children don't have the best relationship, especially as God had me on this journey of healing and deliverance and closing access to certain people, ending relationships with certain people, especially because how they were started. It was never built on a healthy relationship. It was built on a toxic, unhealed version of me, selfishly, but in my eyes, rightfully seeking something that I felt like I deserved. It just wasn't from the people that I was looking for it from, if that makes sense. So, my kids, they have their own story to tell, but the difference, and I'm going to say it, the difference between me and my mom is this. I'm willing to face my truth. Even those things that my kids tell me that hurt me, like, oh, you fuss too much, you this, you that, da, da, da. I'm willing to face that, because my desire is to have a relationship with my children. And I'm not trying to justify the hurt and the pain that I have caused them. It's just to get them to, understand the mindset and the place that I was in during that time in my life. But in order for us to move forward, we still have to address those things that caused them pain. That's the difference. And that's what people don't understand when it comes to me and my mom. And it really, really, really irritates me, because certain people can accept truth and accountability and certain people can't. And I'll never forget when me and my dad first had this conversation. And that's what helped moving forward with my dad, made it so much easier. And again, I'm not here to blame. I'm simply telling my truth. And as we get deeper into the season, we're getting deeper into a lot of the things I've been through and addressing a lot of different things, even to this day, that I'm still dealing with when it comes to certain people. When me and my dad first had the conversation, the difference was he was able to accept accountability and responsibility, and he never once really made an excuse. He did what I'm trying to do with my kids, and that was trying to get me to understand the place where he was. And the thing for me that mattered the most is the hug that my dad gave me. It was something that I was like searching for my entire life. Now I do wish things were a little different, because I can see some shifting and some changing. But I know when it's all said and done, I can pick up the phone and I can call my dad and it ain't going nowhere. I can pick up the phone and I know if I need him, he gonna show up. I'm not gonna get excuses. I'm not gonna get I'm too busy, because I don't care what nobody say. Your child can never be too grown or old to need you. I don't care if my kids are 52. If they need me, I'm showing up. That's just it. Bottom line. Point blank period. End of the discussion. Some things, especially when God is telling me to do one thing and my kids is saying another, then of course I have to be obedient to God. And I just always pray, God, you reveal to them the truth. You reveal to them what it really is, because this is what you're telling me to do. But it's hard when people don't understand, and it seems weird to them, and it's against their morals and what they believe in. But I believe in God the Father. I believe in God who sent his son Jesus to die on the cross for us. So when he speak, I'm obedient. That's just that. And I'm not budging from it. And I just ask God to reveal things to people so that they can understand. So me and my mom don't have the best relationship. And I say that to say, because those who know, they know. When I left my previous ministry, if you know, you know, one of the things I said, and I remember having a conversation with two of my cousins, her and her husband, who are dear to my heart, especially her husband, my big brother. Oh my gosh, love him to death. But anyway, I have been trying to leave for a while. I've been wanting to leave for a while. God was tugging on me to leave for a while. And it was trying to make it work. That's your mom. That's this, that's that. Whatever. But one of the things I said was, I care more about our relationship than a membership. And the way that things took place out there told me the reverse. And I'm not saying that my mom don't want a relationship with me. That's not what I'm saying. And I understand that speaking my truth this season could potentially do, well, it will. It's no potentially. It will do one or two things. It will either bring people closer together and them understanding how you felt when you went through the situation, or it could tear them apart. And I understand that there's pros and cons in everything that we do. And again, following God and being obedient, I understand that goes against the grain. But it's my truth, and it's how I felt, and I'm going to speak it. Because too many people have been speaking my truth, and too many people have been giving their narrative and their opinion, and it ain't needed, it ain't asked for. I have even had several conversations with my dad about being under this leadership. So, and one thing I can say about my dad, he never tried to turn me and my brother against my mom. Never, not once at all. Never spoke bad about her. He always said, that's your mama. You know what the Bible say. And I be looking at him like, are you crazy? Like, yeah, that ain't what's given to us on the opposite end. But now I can respect it, because I do the same thing with my kids, with their dad. I never do that. They're getting older, and I always be like, God, reveal the truth. Even if that means I have to take the L. And I have to take the L a lot when it comes to my kids and other people. I'm 90% of the time, I'm the one taking the L when it comes to my kids. And it causes more division. And that's what people don't understand, especially when you're trying to tell my kids to do something, or the advice you're giving them or whatever is opposite of how I'm teaching them. And that causes division in the home. 1, 2, it causes them to rebel, which is the opposite of what is in the Word of God, which is honor thy mother and father, and thy days on earth shall be eternal. And not to mention the fact that rebellion is witchcraft. So you're causing the enemy to have legal access to them because of whatever they're accepting from you. And I just want to throw this disclaimer out there too. to my mom. Aunt blah, 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 never tried to turn me against you. Ever. So if there is anything that you feel I have against you, one, ask me and I'll tell you the truth. Two, I never held you accountable for your past. Never. Because I understand that you are a child. My issues is the now. So even when members of the church would come to me, even to this day, and you trying to defend what you don't know. You're trying to defend what you don't even understand. You're trying to defend one side and there's always another. Because when it's all said and done, that's my mom. That's your friend, that's your whatever, your leader, whatever. That's my mom. Even my cousin, they always tried to get me to do the right thing. What's in the word. And I'm like, but you don't understand. This pain is deep. It's extremely deep. And to even go through some of the things I went through with my mom, a lot of the things that she said to me, how she treated me, and I'm just looking at her for love and affection, like having a mother-daughter relationship, even to this day, going through a lot of things, good, bad, or indifferent. What daughter don't want to pick up the phone and call her mother to say, hey, I need you. Hey, guess what? Hey, God opened up this door. Opportunity never happened. So once I left the ministry, all hell broke loose. Excuse my French, and I'm not cussing. All hell broke loose. And I got so many calls and texts and this and that. I'm like, that ain't even what happened. Like, that, whatever. And then the new thing, I'm brainwashed. Let me tell you something. I take that as an insult because I'm one of the smartest people you would know. Like, smart. Book sense, street sense, common sense, spiritual gifts, all in one. Even when I don't say nothing, I know. I just don't say nothing. So for it to go to the extent that I'm brainwashed is preposterous. It's ridiculous. It's so many things, because for me, I'm going to just be honest. It was hard for me to respect her as a leader when I didn't as a mother, because you're preaching one thing, but it's something totally different. Again, it's not a blame game. This is just my truth. And it's time. Once God said it's time, I didn't want to do it. I wanted to do a lot of things privately, but it's because my assignments that I have to do it this way. I was instructed to do it this way. So if you don't like it, take it up with Jesus. I ain't got nothing to do with it. Anyway, it was mind-boggling because of the new ministry I'm at. It's a healing and deliverance ministry. And the thing is, my current pastor, she was my mentor at first. We met through a mutual friend, and it's just so crazy how God can use people on your path for different reasons. Because the moment we were introduced from my friend of over 11 years, me and his relationship ended. When I say ended, I don't mean an intimate relationship. I mean, he was my best guy friend. Was there for me through thick and thin and good and bad, and helped me even when God had gave me Women with Purpose. He helped me to get that off the ground, helping me to do what I need to do on my administrative end and all of that business wise. So the moment he introduced us, me and him fell out. But the very first time me and her talked, it was like I know her my entire life. And he just kept saying, talk to her. Y'all stories are the same. She can help you with different things, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you already know how I am. I'm not with meeting a bunch of new people like that. Like, it is what it is. I'm private about my life. I'm open if you know me, but I'm private. I'm not one of those ones who just put my business out there. So when we met, it was immediate, like, loved her. We've been together ever since. But God moved me. I didn't want to do it. I didn't do it. And I felt like I was spiritually dead. Like, dead I felt like I wasn't hearing from God, no nothing. So God was like, the problem ain't you. The problem is I'm not in that. And I'm tugging on you. I'm pulling on you. I'm trying to reveal to you that I'm not in that. And where I have you to go, I have to remove you. And God would do that. God will remove you from familiar territory, place you in unfamiliar territory, so that he can complete your purpose and assignment and calling that's on your life. And that's what happened. But when people around here talking, and it's really, when people are talking and you think you know what you're talking about, you don't. And then you cause more damage than you cause, things to just come together and be more peaceful. So instead of you continuing to talk and causing more damage and causing more division, and you call yourself whatever of the cloth, hey, you know what? I'm going to bring this together, because mother and daughter shouldn't be against each other, although it does say it in the word for the end times. Mothers against daughters, fathers against sons. I'm trying to correct those things with my children. And it ain't happening. So I had to do what God told me to do. And had I not done what God told me to do, I wouldn't be where I am now, because God had to do a work in me. God is still doing a work in me. So I didn't leave to go to another ministry. I'm not at a ministry where I'm brainwashed. I'm very smart. I have been closer to God than I ever have been. And let me say this, I don't owe an explanation to anyone. I'm only doing what God has instructed me to do. The only people that I feel I owe any explanation to is my children. Point blank, period, bottom line. If you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you to do. I'm only here to address what I've been told to do, instructed to do, and speak my truth. This is the first and the last time that I would do this on this season, on this platform. Now, telling my testimony to help others be free, that's one thing. But to address everything that I've been instructed to address, I ain't doing that no more. And you could either, we can move forward. When I say we, I mean anybody. We can move forward. We can address whatever you want to address. We can address it, and we can try to build a healthy relationship that will point back to God, because then people are able to see where we once were compared to where we are now. Or you could do it the way you've been doing it. It doesn't matter to me, because I'm going to always be obedient to God. So I didn't leave my previous ministry for any selfish reason other than what God told me to do. And the part of me, if people want to say flesh, my flesh felt like if I was not under that ministry anymore, then maybe me and my mom for once would focus on the relationship and be closer. And it didn't do that. It did the complete opposite. We do have our moments where we can talk, but certain things still have to be addressed and handled before we can move forward. I do feel like, and this is true, what happened. Once that split took place, so did splits in other relationships. And the only split that did not take place, and this will be the only time I will ever say a name, the only split that did not take place, I felt, was with me and my cousin Derek, which shout out to you, Derek. I love you so much from the bottom of my heart. And I am so thankful and honored for you, and to have a brother that I can call morning, noon, and night, no matter the problem, no matter the situation. When all of that took place, he still tried to repair and fix and bring peace. But sometimes when we try to do things against the will of God, it will not fall in place. And I've learned this the hard way, with a lot of different things. We still try to fix, and it's like nothing that we do is working. That's because God ain't in it, and he's trying to tell you that, because it ain't working. So for me, I had to sit back and give it to God. I cried many nights, even to this day. Like, God, I just want the relationship. Like, that's it. I don't care about nothing else. Even with my dad, I don't care about anything else. I want them to see me for me. Like, you know of me because I'm your daughter, and you gave birth to me, and you had me. You know, I'm my daddy's child, my mother's child. But you don't know me. I didn't even know me. So there's no way you could have known me, because I didn't know me. This person that God has created me to be now, I had to go through the trenches. I had to face some stuff that even I've dealt with. And I'm going to get into that, even from me catching theft charges to feed my children. Like, I'm taking the gloves off. I'm exposing myself this season, so nobody can expose me, because I'm doing it myself. I'm also going to address the situation with me and my brother. Yes, I am. Don't nobody call me. I'm telling you now. Do not call me trying to tell me what to say and what not to say on this podcast, because I'm telling you now, I'm going to hang up on you, because I'm doing what God has told me to do. And when you start listening to outside voices, they can over chatter what it is that God is telling you to do. So I'm learning to not do that, especially with the assignment that's on my life. I'm going to make a lot of people upset, and that's okay. But if you can understand the God in me and what God is trying to do in me, through me, and around me, then we can try to salvage what's left, bring forth healing, and we could tear Satan's kingdom down together. But if you ain't with that, I ain't with that. So do not call me telling me what to say, what not to say. I shouldn't say this, I shouldn't say that. Yes, y'all are getting this version of me this season. You are. Because I'm not dealing with it no more. But for my parents, all I want, I love you guys. I really, 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 really do. And I hate to do it this way, but I've been instructed to do it this way. All I want is for us to grow. And that means we do have to kind of revisit certain situations. Not everything. Certain things. And if you want to do that, we can do that. I'm even willing to take accountability and responsibility for anything that I've ever said or done. Or anything. But I have to. And yeah. So it's going to be that type of season. To my siblings, I love you guys. I do pray that this does not change our relationship. I do pray that we can grow older and together, and I could be that big sister that y'all are gonna need, that y'all do need, and I won't pretend because I'm the big sister that I don't need y'all, because I do. A lot of things I am going through alone, but it's because of where God has me, and certain people aren't there yet. Therefore, everybody can't go. But that does not mean that I don't want the relationship. That's what really kills me with people. That does not mean I don't care about my mom. I don't care about it. Kills me that things are the way they are. But I can't control what God has took me from and taken me to. All I can do is be obedient. So to my parents, I love you dearly. And this season will be an emotional one. I'm addressing a lot of different things. So I'm just putting a disclaimer out there. But I love you guys. And I really do just want that relationship. Same for my siblings. I really do want it. But if it's going to cause a lot, I don't want it. If it's going to cause a lot of drama, emotional distress, drainage, depletion, not taking accountability and responsibility, and then I love you, but it's just, we just have to part ways. Sorry. To my children, I love you dearly, and there is not anything that I would not do for y'all. Oh, this is so emotional, guys. Bear with me. Everything that I'm doing right now is for y'all. I know y'all don't understand it. I know I've ripped y'all away from all that you know. Relationships. And I know y'all don't understand it. I know. I get it. I would be the same way. But I'm only doing what God has told me to do, because I know what God has taken us. So unfortunately, and as you get older, you will understand that certain ties you have to cut. And the enemy will use those closest to you just to get to you. It's not fair. And I just had to have this conversation with my son last night. Well, by the time you guys hear this, it will be a couple nights. But it's not fair. And I know that they're your aunts, your uncles, your grandparents, whatever. But just remember, before they was that to y'all, they were my sisters, they were my brother, they were my mom, they were my dad. And I want it. I want the relationship. But and I know you don't understand a lot of things I'm doing now, but over time you will. But I love you. And I will say their names because y'all know it's not a secret. Talia, Tanaya, and Caleb, I love you guys. Like, I would literally lay down my life for y'all. But I have to do what it is that God is calling me to do. And unfortunately, by default, y'all may be caught in the middle, and it's okay. But because God gonna bring us all through. But I just say that all to say, I love y'all. To my grandmother, and I'm gonna just say grandmother, because I don't have a relationship with my grandfather. One of my grandmothers is deceased. My mom's mom. My dad's mom is not. Grandma, you know you're my girl. When I first got diagnosed with lupus, that's when I found out about my grandmother, and she helped me through that. It was, I'll say names. My Aunt Regina, my parents, my stepmom, Monica, my aunt, my dad's only sister. So if you know, you know, you don't, you don't. And I only said my Aunt Regina because there's not so much I have to say about her this season. So that's the only reason why I'm going to say her name. My dad's baby sister, only sister. You guys were there, especially my stepmom, Monica. Every surgery, there. When nobody else was there. There. Health, there. My sister Kendra, I remember when I was in the hospital, you were working in Williamsburg. You traveled that road daily to help with your nieces and nephew. Caleb wasn't in school, but she still made sure he was good. Thank you. Love you guys. Yeah. I'm not doing no name calling for real. I'm not doing no shout outs for real. Those are the main ones. Especially when the season is going to consist of relationships with people. I'm not saying names. If you know, you know. I don't have no control over that. If they choose to talk about it with people, I don't have no control over that, because it's gonna get deep this season, especially when I get into bloodline stuff. So yeah, this is gonna be hard for me, guys, as you can tell. So just bear with me. We're gonna get to the meat of it. I'm telling you, it's gonna get deeper. This is just the opening, I guess you could say, season of, well, no, it ain't no guess, it is season of it. Yeah, so no, I'm not brainwashed, because let's just throw it out there, because it's been said 12 too many times. No, I'm not. I'm doing what God called me to do, and this may make me look crazy. I get it. I know. I've been doing it for a couple years now, so I know it makes me look crazy. I even sometimes look at myself like, you're crazy if you do that. But then God ended up showing his hand in it, and I'm like, oh, thank you, God, that I was obedient. Because had I not been obedient, had I not been in position, had I not been on my post, then this could have went left. I will be addressing a situation that I was involved in, since somebody wanted to tell a story but not the complete truth. In my most recent relationship. If you know, you know, whatever. But yeah, healing hurts, guys. And deliverance can feel like depression. But is it worth it? It absolutely is, because I'm not the person that I used to be. And even dealing with these situations, I would have handled it differently had God's hand not been in it and on it. And I was told, because I'm a minister, that I can't be all emotional. That's not true. And that's what's wrong with a lot of pastors, preachers, teachers, bishops, apostles, whatever your title is today, and while they are committing suicide, because they're not able to be them, they're not able to be transparent because of the judgment, or because they hold a certain title or whatever and held up to a certain standard, that they can't be real and transparent. And that's what make it hard for people like me to see the real you and what you're going through and what God has brought you from. You know, they tell us to read the Bible or pray. God got you. He do. But let's just be real. It's certain times where we going through so hard and so much, we can't open that Bible. Sometimes my prayers is just tears. And I thank God that he hear my heart and not the words that are coming out of my mouth. Sometimes all I can do is just lay there and just cry. And God know. You know, even being a minister. But I feel, for me to be that minister that God has called me to be, I have to be as real, as transparent as possible, especially in this day and time, because people are dealing with so much. And this is why suicide, especially in leadership, is where it's at. But just suicide in general, especially with the younger generation, which I'm going to discuss that too, because I can say it because my daughter put her testimony out there. My daughter Talia dealt with depression, tried to kill herself 3 times, but God, because she's still here to express her, you know, or to explain, say her testimony. And she said that. That's the only reason why I'm saying it and saying her name, because she's already put it out there. It's on her YouTube and on her social media, where she gave her testimony. And she will be graduating this year. And I'm so proud of her, because she fought through so much depression and everything else. And I will say, and take accountability, I played a part in that, because it was times that she needed me and I wasn't able. I was there. I was physically there. No one has ever had custody of my children. My children have always lived with me, but because of the things that I was dealing with and I didn't understand, I couldn't be that mother that she needed me to be. And I can say that. But God has delivered me even from that. And I'm able to be that mom that she needs me to be. It's just a process, because so many things were done in the past that we're trying to get through. And I know we're going to get through that, because God has already brought me through so much. So I'm not worried about that. But this is why this is why leaders are where they are. And this is why people, you know, call us hypocrites, or, you know, they feel like that, you know, they're better off outside the church, because people in the church are worse than they are and sinning more than they are. I'm not the typical minister. I'm not. I am real, raw, uncut, very transparent, because everything that I've been through, God has brought me out of, and I can give him all the glory, or all the honor, all the praise. So even if I'm giving a word and I just break down. And because I can remember where I was, I can remember who I was and the person that God has called me to be today. So I'm one of the realest, most transparent ministers you're probably going to meet. Not the only, that's not what I said. I said the realest that you're probably going to meet. I'm an open book. I'm private, meaning I'm not one to just put it all out there. So for me to do this season, trust me, I've argued with God for quite some time, because I've never been that type of person. But if you know me, you know I'm an open book. So I just want to say thank you guys so much. This season we are getting real, raw, uncut. No one will be able to tell you my story, because I'm going to tell it to you myself, the truth. And I just want to say thank you to everyone that has been here with me through this journey, who's still here with me. And I just want to reverence my pastors, Pastor Thomas Harris and Prophetess Michelle Harris. Thank you guys so much for being here with me, being here for me when I can't say anything, just the tears and just everything, deliverance, healing, just everything. Thank you guys so much. To my sister Sierra, thank you so much. I love you. Love you. Thank you so much. So thank you guys for tuning in. See you next Saturday at 7 p.m. Thank you guys. Love you. Have a blessed week.